Today we're talking with Dr. James Anderson, who is professor and director of orchestral activities at the University of Delaware and one of the co-founders and musical director of SODELO, the Southern Delaware Orchestra. Welcome, Jim. To begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is James Anderson, and I am the Director of Orchestral Activities at the University of Delaware, and also music director and co-founder of SODELO. I have been in Delaware. This is my 12th year at the university, and my first year, the inaugural year of SODELO.
Terrific. And why is music important?
You know, music is an expression of our culture. It is a form of self-expression. It's a way for us to be able to communicate in an artistic sense, and it provides enjoyment for people. It provides intellectual sort of discovery of different elements within the music, and it provides entertainment and comfort. I'm always amazed that in time of crisis we turn to song. And so music, I think, is something that is so innate in our day-to-day lives. We often forget how important it is.
I can't agree with you more. Can you tell me how you became the music director of and conductor of SODELO?
Well, that's a very interesting story. So Steve Greifer and Eva DeGallo approached me. They wrote me an email sometime last year saying that they had begun this new venture of forming an orchestra in Southern Delaware. And they asked if I had any students who might be interested in helping conduct the ensemble. And I said, well, wait a minute, I would love to be involved with this. I've had some experience starting community orchestras. I love the feel of being able to make music with people within the community. They're deeply invested. The community support we've had already with just 2 concerts has been remarkable. And so it's those sort of really tangible opportunities that made me interested in becoming the music director. And so I offered to help them get it off the ground, and then they appointed me as music director. So it was a great honor for me.
Terrific. And this group has accomplished so much in such a little amount of time. It absolutely amazes me. So how does conducting a community orchestra differ from conducting a professional orchestra?
Yeah, I think on a basic level, making music is making music. It doesn't matter which type of ensemble that you're working with. The intangibles come in with a community orchestra like this. It's really a family. It's a musical family within the community. And so that makes the conducting of it, right? And conductor is a very interesting term, right? So what do? Well, we wear a lot of different hats, right? So my job as the artistic director is to program music, is to rehearse that music, help prepare it for our concert performances. And working with a community orchestra, that's different because it's really a reflection of all the different levels of ability within the community and coming together to present something really enjoyable for our friends and neighbors.
Terrific. What communities does SODELO serve?
We serve a variety of communities. We serve certainly the community of musicians in Southern Delaware, and so we provide a place that is open and inclusive to learn about music, to make music. So we're providing a service for the individual musicians within the community. We provide a service through for our audience by providing beautiful concerts. And also we provide an opportunity by getting and receiving support from different organizations, different companies, and so we become really a good community member in that sense, that we reflect the values of that area.
What do you hope to accomplish working with SODELO?
I have great plans for SODELO. I think we all do. It's certainly not me alone. We have a thriving board of directors and an incredible group of musicians, a lot of people that are working on behalf of SODELO. What I would love to see, perhaps I expect fully within the next 5 years we'll be a full symphony orchestra, not just strings only. I expect in 25 years we will be a thriving organization and a cornerstone of the community. 50 years we'll still be there, 100 years. So I have great expectations for longevity for the ensemble. I have some real ambitions to engage with the community in education opportunities. We hope that we become such a role model that string education will thrive in Southern Delaware, will start appearing within the public school systems. And because right now we provide an ensemble opportunity for string players that doesn't currently exist. And so I think we're filling that void, and I see that role continuing to expand throughout the years.
Absolutely. What is your most memorable moment with SODELO so far? I mean, it's been a short time frame, but...
There were some unknowns when we first started, right? So with any new venture, we don't know what sort of turnout we're going to get. We don't know what the reception will be from the audience, from the community. And from the very beginning, when we advertised this possibility to come and join us, we had something like 50 people who expressed some interest. It was extraordinary. There was definitely a need there. And then when it came to unexpected, I wasn't sure what our first concert was going to generate in terms of community support. And it was a standing room only performance. The same thing with that was at Bethel United Methodist Church in Lewis, Delaware. And then we did a holiday concert in December, and again at Camp Arrowhead, and it was standing room only. Over 300 people attended. So I think that just showed that there's a desire for an outlet for community musicians, and that there was a desire from the public to come and support and hear orchestral music.
Great, thank you.
All right.
So who or what inspired you to become a conductor?
Oh my, that's a big question. I did my my studies. My undergraduate degree was at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I was a piano performance major. And in my senior year, I started studying conducting with my conducting mentor, Tonu Kalam. And I just fell in love with the craft. There's 400 years of incredible repertoire, a real history, cultural history to delve in with the orchestra. And the timbres that you can elicit from a symphony orchestra exceed what a piano can accomplish. And so I was drawn to the repertoire. I was drawn to the idea of trying to bring 100 people together to create a unified concept. And so I think that started really at that time during my senior year of college. I went on to study with a variety of wonderful teachers. I finished my doctoral studies at the Eastman School of Music, which was an extraordinary opportunity to interact with artists at the highest level. And from there, I've been various positions, music director of the Butte Symphony in Montana. I've taught at several universities, University of Montana and Appalachian State University, and now I make the University of Delaware my home. This is my 12th year there, and we have an extraordinary program. In particular, I love working with the university students because everything is new. It's the first time they played the Beethoven Fifth Symphony, and so there's always this excitement about repertoire and about possibilities.
Terrific. So what is the conductor's job? What do you do?
A conductor wears a lot of hats. There was an article that was written in the Washington Post a long time ago where they tried to describe this mystical, esoteric sort of job of being a conductor, but really it's a combination of an artist, of a traffic cop, of psychologist, of a planner. You have to be versed in history and in poetry. You need to know about painting. You need to understand all of these other things that seem external to music are incorporated into our craft as a conductor. And so the basic answer as a music director is I select repertoire. I prepare the repertoire with the ensemble and we present it for an audience. But beyond that, there are administrative responsibilities about keeping tracks of budgets, being a spokesperson for an organization, as we're doing now. The list goes on, right? So there's recruiting, there's educational outreach. All these are responsibilities of the conductor. And so I find that waving my arms is about 10% of the job.
What kind of education or training is required?
Podium time, I think, is, I deal with this question with my conducting students all the time. And often I say that the training aspect really requires three things for a young conductor to ask. First and foremost is finding an inspirational teacher who is well connected to the arts community. The second is an institution where you study. What is its reputation, and what sort of context will you get through being associated with a specific place? But the most important training for a conductor, the very most important one, is podium time. If you do not have time, because our instrument is the orchestra, and you need to practice your instrument at a young age. And it's not like going into a practice room and playing the piano, which you can do on your own. You have to somehow convince people to come together, bring their instruments, practice, and let you learn how to become proficient in the craft of creating ensemble. And so I think podium time is something I've been very fortunate to have had in all my educational experiences. It always came with a lot of time in front of the orchestra, and you can't beat that.
Now, you mentioned that one of your jobs was to choose the music for a particular presentation or performance. How do you go about choosing a piece of music?
Well, that's an interesting question for a community orchestra versus the university orchestra, and so or professional orchestra. The community orchestra, we want to remain connected to our community. So often we will select repertoire that somehow will feature an aspect of something that's going on within the community, or perhaps it features members from the community. And so maybe we're selecting concertos by people who live in Rehoboth or Bethany or Lewis, in that area. So we had Ellen and Joseph Torrey, who sang in our concert in December. Both of them live in, they're a married couple, they live in the area, but they both have had experience singing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. And so we have this caliber of artistry living within our neighborhood, and so we want to mine that. And so I'm looking to choose repertoire that's going to feature those sort of people. We live at the coast, so maybe there's thematic material. We might start drawing on music that's inspired by the ocean, by the sea. So there's all different ways for us to be able to craft a program, but we really want to make for SODELO have that regional impact within our music making.
So do you play any other instruments? I mean, you mentioned that you play the piano.
Well, piano is my principal instrument. I played trombone in high school and in college, and I took 3 years of cello lessons in college. I wouldn't call myself a cellist, but I knew that I wanted to be a conductor, and so I wanted to be able to speak the language of strings, and so I studied the instrument, and these are all instruments that I love. I sang in high school and in college. I find that's a very important tool for a conductor, to be able to sing a line and model the articulations and dynamics and the shapes of the phrases. There's no quicker way to do it than to be able to sing it to the orchestra. And so those are the instruments I've had experience with. I would say I'm a pianist first. I'm not sure I'm a trombonist or a cellist anymore. But yeah, I think any form of expression with music is such a valuable tool for all of us.
Great. So what is your favorite piece of music? What do you hum in the shower in the morning?
My word. My favorite piece of music, it's an impossible question. I used to give the answer, whichever one I'm working on, but it feels a little trite now. I love any piece of music that really forces you to go deeper and to explore your personal relationship with that piece of music. And I find that is highly subjective. It's a different piece for everybody. It's a different piece for me. One of the great blessings of our craft is you can perform the Brahms Second Symphony, and then come back to it 10 years later and you'll find new things within it. You'll be a different person and you'll want to express new things through the music. And so I think great repertoire is such a gift. And to choose one gift from this incredible pantheon of selections is an impossibility.
What do you think of today's music?
I love it. I champion new music all the time. That's another expression for the community. We'd love to learn about composers that live in Southern Delaware. I have been a part of commissions and premiering works since my very first studies on as a conductor. And looking at my repertoire list, I'm getting close to having premiered over 100 works. And so new music is critical for today's expression, right? And so that comes in such a variety and diversity of styles. I think the choices are endless, and we should be including that on our programs. My dream programs that I like to put forward will partner new works with old works so that they give a different perspective to each other. And I think that can be really informative for our time.
Which conductor do you admire most?
Oh gosh, another hard question. There's so many that I have such great respect for. Let me think, Claudio Abbado. I met Leonard Bernstein. It had a very profound effect on me when I was younger. Carlos Kleiber is one of the all-time great conductors. Sir Colin Davis, I had the great honor of being able to interview him for an award that I presented on behalf of the International Conductors Guild. Maurice Janssens, I mean, the list goes on and on. Yannick is in Philadelphia. Dudamel is going to New York. I mean, we're in a new golden age of conducting, and so it's an exciting time to be in the craft.
You are lucky. You also sound like you like doing what you're doing, and that is the key to success and happiness.
I love it.
How would you describe your approach to conducting a community orchestra?
Okay, well, we sort of talked on that question, right? So I can go on to that some more. Conducting a community orchestra is wonderful because you have a variety of different levels of players who are all coming and are there for one sole reason. They love to play. They want to be there. And that is addictive for a conductor. That sense of their joy and desire to make music together is palpable from the podium, and so I feel that most of all with the community orchestra. I think that professional orchestras I've worked with have been extraordinary, and their musicianship is at a very high level. But there's something really personal for people who are coming directly from the community to make music. And some of them haven't played their instrument in 30 years. They've had full professional careers and they're now retired and they want to pick up the violin again. We provide that opportunity for them. Others are in high school and they don't have an orchestra to play with now, and so they come to us. And putting those two groups together and everyone else in between is what a community orchestra is about.
And so how do you engage the community members?
Which community members? So
the people you're performing for. How do you get them involved in your music and your enthusiasm and your passion for playing?
We have a whole crew of people that are involved in helping us market our performances, and so that's sort of the first contact. We get the word out about who we are and what we do when our performances are coming up, and people become engaged that way. We put calls out asking the community to be involved. Who would like to serve on our board of directors? And so we have people who are not musicians who serve, who are pillars within the community, and they want to see and help us thrive. At the concerts themselves, we do pre-concert lectures, so we speak directly to the audience. We have receptions afterwards. We do events in the community where our musicians go out and play, maybe just a select string quartet might play at a function for a different business as part of their outreach. And so there's many ways, many services that we can provide for the community that goes beyond simply performing music.
My understanding is that SODELO plans to get have greater involvement with the students in Southern Delaware. Can you talk a little bit about what your goals are?
Yeah, we really want to extend our operations into educational outreach. We want to become an institution that introduces very young students to the ideas of making music on string instruments, eventually with a full orchestra, including winds, brass, and percussion. We want to encourage the development. There's already really great teaching that's happening in Southern Delaware at the Music School of Delaware and private studios. And so there are string students that are there. But we're hoping that we become so successful, we become a model for the public school system, that we can introduce string programs into the high schools, into the middle schools, along with the band and the choir components that exist there now. I don't think that there's any program that's complete from a musical standpoint unless you include string education. And so I'm hoping that we can be advocates on behalf of that for the students in the area.
Great. Do you have any tips for parents on how to encourage their children to practice more?
Yes, well, they should take up instruments themselves, right? So lead by example, and it's never too late to start an instrument. And I think that if there's a balance of young string education where you need to find the right teacher, you need to have your students playing on the appropriate instrument, and then you have to have great repertoire that engages that student, and then that component that we feel is an outlet to perform in an ensemble setting, right? And so there are many facets. So there's a lot of demands, there's a lot of expense involved for parents, and I'm certainly sympathetic to that. I have 4 children myself, and so I've gone through that process multiple times. But I think just being a positive encouragement is the most important thing. And if you notice that your child expresses an interest in music, find ways to nurture that. Certainly reach out to organizations like SODELO and ask those questions specifically. And we want to be a resource for the community.
Terrific. On a personal note, tell us one thing about you that most people don't know about you. That
most people don't know about me. Well, I'll cheat a little bit. Most people know that I love to travel, and I think that's an association with my degree. My conducting has taken me to 5 continents. I have an ambition to take an orchestra to all 7 continents. Antarctica's the challenging one, of course. I don't know, we'll play for penguins perhaps, but I find that being able, as I've been, to travel all over the world, I become fascinated by different cultures. And so I think that's, if people don't know me personally, then maybe that answers your question, this real desire to travel. It probably came from, my father was in the military, and so he moved every 3 years. And so I lived all over the world. I was born in Japan. I lived in Holland for 3 years. And having that European experience and being able to travel, 2-hour drive and you've gone through 3 countries. And that really opened my eyes and made a career in music actually a natural pairing for this desire to travel.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. This has been enjoyable.
Thank you.
And I am sure anybody listening to this conversation will take as much pleasure from it as I have. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.